playing Stanley Parable.
This is the...
I don't care about the story. Okay, here we go.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay, let's see what's at the meeting room.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Speedrunning.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Sorry if that was loud. Ooh. Okay, let's go back to... Okay, let's go
Coming
up.
to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Oh, the door open. Okay, if I would.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
This game is actually kind of old, but I don't care.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yeah, I actually,
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
When people used to do Stanley Parable.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
I don't care.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
What was that? Yeah, I'm gonna just go down here real quick. Oh, sorry, that was that. I'll just cut that out. If I can. I'll just,
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence
sorry
whatsoever.
for your ears.
Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life.
Oh no.
Farewell, Stanley.
Well, farewell me. Goodbye. Huh?
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Who is this?
In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Whoa.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
This museum is actually kind of nice. The monitor room elevator. Exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
I turned that off before.
Can you see how much they need one another?
Finish that.
No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. Find the way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now. It's your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
This is a story of a mom named Stanley. Yeah, I know.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
There we go.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in?
Yes, there's so many
I'm over
details.
it now.
Like
What do you think? Are you sick of
window
this
with some
gag
more
yet?
frames and some,
Then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you
oh
pick
yeah,
the...
I'm getting bored. I'm gonna just begin the game again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Wait a minute, I just thought of an ending, but
Yes,
I forgot
this
the
room.
ending of the ending.
But
so
eager
let me
to
just
get back
do
to
it real
business,
quick.
Stanley took
Then
the
that'll be the
first
end of
open
the
door on
video.
his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Stanley
Oh,
had
yeah,
now
now
gotten
I'm
himself so
remembering
far
it.
off the beaten path that it seemed the
remembering it.
office had begun. Well, so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. Well, so far off the beaten path that it. You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording?
Yeah.
It was all just in Stanley's head.
Oh.
I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination,
probably.
you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what
And
you've
yeah,
done to me. This is all your fault.
This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that. And have a nice day or night or lunch. I don't, bro. Well, the time I'm recording it, it's about like lunch. So, bye. Oh, it's on screen recorder. I'll edit that out.